Hey there, my name is Josh Diotti here with Customer Relations, and today we are here to get you ready for delivery day. That's right, it's finally here. And so I am sure you have watched a lot of the component videos to help you decide if the product is for you or not. And so the goal of this video here today is to help educate you on how to use your van to make sure you are ready to go. And so slow us down, turn closed captions on, rewind, rewatch the video completely if you need to. Make sure you take notes, write any questions down so that we can best use your time here on delivery day. So with that being said, let's get started.
As you mentioned earlier, you found some USB outlets. Those are all factory installed. With the 8th gen Transit, they kind of added more creature comforts.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, so each cup holder has one, and then up front you have a 12 volt and a USB, and then above your steering wheel on the front of the dash, there's another 12 volt and USB up there. All of those are directly tied to Ford. We don't integrate it into our system at all. So the runtime for those will be while the vehicle is on and driving, and then up to about 20 or 30 minutes once you turn off the vehicle, depending on how much power you're pulling from there. If you plug into those at night, regardless if our system's on or off, you will not be charging in the morning. So I just kind of want to point those out first. With our van, we add in a whole bunch of 110 AC outlets in here. So just like in your house, everything is AC powered. All of our camper van batteries, whether they're lithium or AGM, they're all DC powered. So to have these coffee makers, hair dryers, things like that work inside of here, we have to convert that DC into AC. And we have 5 locations where those AC outlets are. So the first one's on the ceiling up here. 2 AC ports and 2 USBs. Some people add in TVs, additional lighting, maybe fans and stuff, so kind of flush mounted up high for us. We have a second one behind your water box currently, just tucked behind the driver's seat where someone might put a kitchen pot or something. The third set is behind your storage. You can kind of see the pass through. Yep, through there, so you can add in any electronics or something down there. So 1, 2, 3, and then we have a 4th one below us on this wall and a 5th one in the back. So kind of broken between like front, driver side, and passenger side. So 10 total, 3-prong outlets with 10 USB options as well. So only thing is we are toggling those on and off when we want them to be powered. It doesn't control our lighting, it doesn't control our fans or things like that. We're just turning on power to those outlets when we need to. So, have anything you kind of plan on plugging in here or using?
I don't know yet.
Most people are going from like tent camping with propane or butane to having power, so they're kind of not used to using.
Pretty much.
Yeah, charging cell phones, charging.
Yeah, that's
small electronics.
For the time being.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, let's just move to the back power tower and kind of talk about what we see here. So, first thing I like to mention, since most people ask, is kind of why we build in this corner of the van. And the answer is our secondary air conditioner is already mounted on the floor there. So kind of stacking it above there kind of minimizes the encroachment on here. With the lithium system, we had to adapt a storage solution on the side for that bigger battery, and with AGM, you now can use this as 3 shelves, which is really cool. So that's a nice feature we were able to add.
Yeah, that was a no-brainer on that one.
Yeah, so the you have less cabinet options because of the vertical extrusion, but now we're kind of making up for it with the stacked tower here. The layout is going to start down here with our batteries. So you have 3 100 amp hour deep cycle AGM batteries. They are wired in parallel, so they're acting as one giant 300 amp hour system. And the basic charging layout of your van is we have our batteries in the back. People call them house or secondary batteries or something. And then you have the factory Ford ones up front
Yep.
under your car seat. They are directly connected together, both systems. And in the middle of that is an automatic charging relay, which is right here with that yellow switch on it. And its job is to just connect the two systems and disconnect them based on voltage.
Okay.
When we're above a certain amount, usually when we're charging, you'll hear a click, it connects them. We are now sending power to the other system and charging it. When we drop below a certain voltage, you'll hear a click, it will disconnect, making sure we're not keep pulling like from that other system.
It's pretty slick.
Yeah, so
That's a new thing, isn't it? For the AGMs?
no, we've had this. The new thing is we have a cutoff for overall voltage, so like you won't hurt the batteries.
Yeah.
But we've been using this charging relay for a long time. It's what a lot of marine, applications are using for dual battery setups. A lot of the camper van stuff is marine kind of components, since we want that kind of shock resistance and extra waterproofing. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So regardless, if you're charging from solar, from shore power, or the vehicle, it's just deciding when we're charging and then charging the other battery system for you. Most notably, you'll see this when you are starting your vehicle. So that initial start of the vehicle, about 30 seconds later or so, when that car battery is above a voltage, so usually we're in the 14s or something when we're starting, you'll hear a click. Now that relay closes, connecting the two systems, and the entire time you're driving, this system is charging.
Awesome.
As soon as you park, turn off your key, and that car battery is now settling down. It gets below that threshold, click, disconnects, we're not pulling from it. So that's just the most common scenario you'll hear it in, which is totally normal, just means everything's working for you. But it'll do it for shore power, it'll do it from solar if it can get high enough, depending on what you're running inside of here and stuff too. So
the transit batteries themselves, those are in this underneath the seat.
they're under your driver's seat, but they do have a kind of a positive terminal that runs to the engine bay, and you have like you can still jump start the vehicle from inside the engine bay.
Okay, cool.
That's actually the post that is in the engine bay is what we piggyback off of to run to this ACR.
Gotcha. All right.
So some people have not read their manual or something, and we've seen posts where people have like removed the driver's seat to get to their batteries to jump start it, and it's fully accessible under the hood. You don't need to get to
yourself,
that. Yeah. So like I said, this is automatically doing that for you, but just because it comes with kind of an override option, we've installed that in this side box over here. I think if you want to get a shot of that. Okay. So there is an on, auto, and off position. It's set in the middle auto, which means it's working exactly how I described.
Yep.
And that's where we recommend it kind of being. But let's say like a scenario where your vehicle just wouldn't start. Like it's been sitting inside, or you were gone for a while and the vehicle battery is just too low. Well, you come in your van, you hit some of these switches, this system still has power. We can press it to on, overriding it, and now directly connecting the front to the back. And we're jump starting that vehicle from this system.
That's pretty slick. I thought you could only do that with the lithium system.
No, actually in our lithium, we are not able to send the power back this way.
Okay.
So with AGM, both being lead acid AGM, we can run it back that way.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, vehicle has nothing. We have power back here. We can connect it, jump start our vehicle, come back here, press it back to auto. It will never go back to auto unless you physically engage it.
But that's super cool.
Yep. You also have the off option, which would not allow them to ever communicate, which we don't really use in our kind of application. Maybe if you were going in for service and they might have been measuring voltage on your alternator or something like that, you might want to just disconnect it so there's no issues. But that's the only time I can really think of the off function. And then let's say that switch fails, or it is not powered because power is too low. We made a little adapter in here, and we can get inside here and physically engage that as well, which is doing the same function as like this switch does. So kind of like two backup solutions, but really, 99.9% of the time, you should never have to touch those. But they are there. You don't need to call a AAA or something, or find another vehicle to get back online.
Myself.
Yeah. So, feeling good right now?
Yeah.
Cool. Kind of moving up, I'm going to mention this CL305 device because it has a flashing red light. That is the most common thing we'll get a photo of in our ticket system. It means everything is fine.
Just because it's red. And
flashing red on status, we're good.
Yeah.
This is actually the pre-programmed module for your rocker switches. So it sets the timing and kind of lighting and what they do. But if we have any issues, we kind of get that question. So just let you know it's a poor tasting color from that manufacturer. Maybe blue would have been a nice option, but just wanted to point that out. Over here we have our inverter, which its main job is to convert that DC power into AC for your wall outlets and rooftop air conditioner. But it is a 3-in-1 inverter, so it actually does two additional things. So besides providing 2,000 watts total of inverted AC power, it is also working as a 100 amp DC charger for our batteries. So when shore power is plugged in, it just starts charging these up, at a maximum rate of 100. And the third thing it does is work as a transfer switch. So most pop-up campers or old RVs, they would only be powered when you plugged in shore, because shore is AC power. It had a transfer switch. It made outlets and air conditioners work inside the van. Doing so bypasses our batteries. Your air conditioner and everything is being powered directly from that shore power connection. So yeah, 3-in-1, and if you forget, it is listed right on there, which is pretty handy. Whether you have your inverter turned on or off, as soon as shore power is connected, it's automatically charging, it's automatically inverting, all that stuff's taken care of. It won't even let you turn off our inverter. It's just bypassing kind of any issues with us. So yeah, pretty cool system there for us. Behind here, which we can't see, is our DC fuse block. So we have those labeled to what components they're going to for easy access. And then there's probably at least like 1 or 2 spare slots on there as well. So if you wanted to add something like another 12-volt adapter or something like that, you can add directly to there. That's not tied to like our switches that were open we talked about earlier. So yeah, so should be getting a little less, scary. We haven't touched anything yet. We're just kind of, looking at everything. It's just visually appealing right now. So moving up here, we have our third set of rocker switches. And like I mentioned earlier, after 3 minutes, these will shut off. They're kind of in that sleep mode. First press did not adjust our lights. It just wakes up the panel. And then the next one will adjust that for us. So nothing additional here, but just nice to kind of show that visually for you. We have our carbon monoxide and propane detector here. So whether you're using like a Coleman 2-burner cook stove or something like that, it's going to detect those gases for you. Do note that it's only powered directly to our batteries. There's no physical like double or AAA battery backup. So if you were completely out of power, this would not be working, but either is your Espar or something. So regardless, everyone gets one installed. You have that kind of peace of mind to start. You can always add an additional one if you wanted to be separate from our system. It's very loud, and it's pretty sensitive. We had to get rid of our forklifts and get electric ones because it would set off like the vans on big shipment days. So we feel pretty confident that it's going to notify you and any kind of issues there. So over here we have our breakers. So just like in your house, 120 volt AC breakers. There are 4 of them here. The first one, and only 20 amp, is for your rooftop air conditioner, since it's AC powered. And the 3 additional are split up in those 3 sections of outlets. So 5 outlets, but 3 breakers for them. So kind of front, driver side, and passenger side. We know they have power when they're lit up green. If anything, you overloaded a circuit, it would trip like that. Light goes off, no outlets powered. and we can just hit it back flush. No fuse or anything like that to replace. So pretty simple. We've had some customers use it as kind of like a two-step kind of powering on for certain items. Maybe they don't want like an air conditioner to accidentally be turned on with kids or something. So turning on the inverter still doesn't power anything until you turn those on, but mainly they're used for just kind of, you know, resetting anything you accidentally tripped. Over here is our solar controller, so I'm sure you'll love to, you know, rip that out pretty quickly, but we use this one because it's super easy. There's nothing we are turning on or off for solar to work. If someone's adding or subtracting panels, you know, plugging in ones down here, they don't need to change any settings. It allows us to charge out of here with USB if you need to. We could toggle inverter on and off, but we are using this controller for that, so this does not do anything for us. There is a max boost button to kind of overwork them for the last few hours of the day, but it will reset at the end of the day, so we don't have to worry about, you know, efficiency or heating up issues. And then A and B are for two separate battery systems. This one can charge. So we are just using one of them for the R system. So there are just 4 settings, 4 displays when we hit the B here. So first one is voltage. Pretty easy to see there. You know, we kind of say, or they consider the range of low to high, or like 0 to 100%, 11 volts and 12.8 and above. So that's kind of what we'll see in between it. Hitting it again, this is the amount of, you know, current coming in from solar. I like leaving it on this because it shows a sun icon if light is detected. So we can tell, you know, that everything's working, and then, you know, how much we're bringing in at this exact moment. If it has a moon icon and you're in the middle of the day with, you know, 0.0 on there, you know, something's probably unplugged somewhere. So we like leaving it on that for most customers. This is a rough percentage of that voltage range I was telling you about, where 11 and 12.8 is kind of that 0 to 100. And then the last one is just cumulative all-time added amp hours, which is reset by downloading the Bluetooth app and clearing it. So really simple controller. I'm sure you'll have fun pulling it out for
maybe
Renogy or something. I don't know what you're kind of planning on, but it's, the controller is integrated into the back side of this, so it's just one unit right here. Okay, well, last but not least, this is our inverter and charger remote. So on here, if I got rid of everything really that wasn't really used, it would be everything but this inverter on and off button at the top left. When you want outlet power to be on, we turn it on. When you do not need outlet power on, we can turn it off. It's not going to change our lighting or anything like that, but we're not touching charger on off or anything like that. This is mainly the button we're hitting right here. So it shows us kind of what's going on. It says in this second line that we are currently charging in a multi-stage. It can say bulk, multi, absorb. If there's anything in there about charging, you know that you're charging. That's a good sign. The voltage is right here, which is kind of redundant. You know, we have both of them over here, so I normally keep that on the solar setting. And then below we have charge or inverting, depending what it's saying. We are currently charging at a rate of 2 amps out of that 100 possible, so we are just so full, it's just holding us, you know, like topping us off right now. So there are a couple settings in here that you might adjust. Shore power, we can adjust the maximum incoming like current from campsite or wherever. Most outlets in a house, you know, in our van, in a workshop, are 15 amp. So that's kind of what we build on because it's most common. We just set it slightly below that, so you have a little wiggle room if something else is on that circuit. But if you noticed you were tripping like an at-home one or at a friend's house or something, we can lower that down if needed. We just don't go up any higher than that kind of range because we are limited by the plug we use and the wires and cables and stuff. Even if you plugged into like a 30 amp service at a campsite, which is pretty common since, you know, everyone's campsites are wired different, who knows when they're wired. maybe sometimes the 15's tripping pretty easy for you, or they don't have one, you can use an adapter to change the plug from a 30 to a 15. We're still limiting what's coming into the van, so there's no issues there. And then the last one on here is our low battery cutout. I'm going to raise that just slightly to 11.5, and that means when the voltage for these batteries gets down to 11.5, it's going to audibly beep at you and just remind you that it's time to start charging your van. You know, it's not immediately going to shut off all power, but just a nice reminder to maybe like check the shore power to see if you actually plugged it into something that was working. Or just let you know that maybe I should turn off the inverter for the night so we can like make it through, you know, one more day of boondocking. But just a nice kind of reminder there. And at 11 volts, we have a automatic timer disconnect, which will shut off power to the system so that we're not just running those batteries super low and, you know, damaging them. It will kick back on once solar or driving the vehicle or something, you know, charges it up above that amount. So for this whole controller, that's pretty much it, on and off, and it won't even let us do that right now because the shore power is plugged in and charging. So yeah, pretty dummy proof, right?
Pretty easy.
Yeah. So additional things you have back here that not everyone might have. You have a JL audio subwoofer, and then you have the amplifier for the rear door speakers here, which is going to sound really awesome. And then down here on the corner, we have a 12 volt adapter for a cigarette style plug and 2 USBs. So those are always powered directly to the battery. They're not tied to the Ford factory outlets, and they're not tied to our inverter system. So some things like Dometic coolers and other components come with 2 cables. You might have an AC or a DC. They don't know if you're using it in a van, house, or, you know, Honda Civic. So you could like turn off your inverter, plug it in here, and still have that cooler working. So yeah, but for the most part, that's kind of the rundown of the whole entire electrical system.
Pretty simple.
In the van. Yeah, we give you still like enough stuff to play with, you know, start plugging in, start adding things in here, but taking out kind of all the hard wiring and kind of layout stuff from us. So do you have any questions about what you see, or
Not really.
right now?
I'm sure I will a week down the road when I'm actually using it.
Yeah.
Right
The most
now,
important
no.
thing for day one is like how to tell that I'm charging, which is, you know, you might plug into an outlet that wasn't live. Well, I can tell because this second line says charging. I know my voltage is higher than a battery normally sits at, and this says charging down here below. So that's a good indicator. And then how to turn on and off the inverter for outlets around the van, which is just this top left button here.
Cool.
So it can stay on now, today, tomorrow, 6 months from now if needed. There's no harm to that. It's just using a little bit more power than if it was off. Or it is powering a device that is kicking on and off for like heating or cooling in here, so that could like, you know, drain you additionally. So for most people, I'm just saying like when you leave your vehicle, look at your inverter, decide if you need to turn it on or off.
Should be pretty safe for me just to leave it on if I'm using this every day.
Yeah. Higher drawing components like, you know, the hot water heater inside your water box up there is about 1400 watts. So, you know, if you left that on, you know, it might show no pull when you leave, but you know, when it heats up, it starts pulling that crazy amount, but then it kicks off pretty, you know.
And that's basically like a shore power only thing anyways.
No, you can run it off power, just I wouldn't run it all day, you know, have it constantly heating. I would, you know, turn it on when I need it and turn it off when I need it. If you had shore power, no issues there at that point. Yeah. But yeah, water system still works inside of there without the hot water on. That's just an optional, you know, if you want hot water or not. So, okay, well, let's, I'm going to go down here and just unplug the shore power. And I just want to see what changes on the screen. So if you want to get that shot, it's either going to turn off this because that was the previous setting before, you know, we plugged it in, or it's going to keep it as is and just lose a couple lines inside there. Yeah, didn't adjust our lights, didn't do anything like that. But now we can see we're no longer in the charging phase. We are no longer charging below. It says inverting. And our voltage is going to hover around that, you know, settle around the 12.7, 12.8 spot. So turning the inverter on and off now actually turns off the outlets. Our breaker shut off. We have no power to the outlets. And then turning it back on, we'll initialize it. And these will start glowing again, and now we have power to the outlets. So pretty much one button on that. We'll do everything for you. So, okay, well, that's a wrap kind of on power, and we can kind of take a breather for a second.
Yeah,